Hey guys, happy Monday. It's Daryl here. I just got back from my 4 mile walk and I got an opinion I'd like to talk with you guys about. All right, as I was out on my walk today, I saw a couple trucks go by with bumper stickers. One said, F your feelings, and it was a Trump 2020. There was other Trump 2020 bumper stickers on there. And a couple days ago on Facebook, I saw it was a picture, it was a meme of somebody dressed up for Halloween in women's clothing, guy with a beard, and it was funny, a guy with a beard dressed in a dress and everything. And one of the commenters said, "Oh, isn't this a liberal? Isn't this somebody from the group that begins with an A, ends with an A, and has an N, T, and an F in the middle?" And I thought about that, especially the truck that just went by me. F your feelings. And I thought about how ironic it is that these are the people that claim that Trump is a man of God. He was sent by God. The people that the evangelicals hold as their man. F your feelings. Wow. And I started to think about this. This is something I think about. I'm sure we all think about a lot. How did we get here? As you all know, Trump is a symptom of this. I think back to the show Jim Belushi. It's all reruns now. It came out 10, 20 years ago. And it was even going on then. He was kind of funny, and he was the star, the protagonist of the show. Is that what it's called? And it highlighted his bad behavior. In one season, in one show, he bragged about taking the low road, kind of flipping off people on the road, cutting them off, being rude. And he's like, "I love the low road. Come on down on the low road." Just being a jerk and loving it. And look where we are now. And then I started thinking about how somehow Donald Trump has become this image of machoism, of having large balls. I don't know how else to put it. And how do we get here? I know that somehow conservatives and have always looked at themselves as having the macho, somehow that they were more manly. I don't know if that's because of war and backing war and police and guns. And again, the first thing that comes to my mind is insecurity. Okay, let me start at the beginning. So I usually, you guys know, I use empathy. Like when I'm trying to figure somebody out, I try to think back, like if I see a troll on my page, I try to think back when I did that same thing and how I felt and why I said it and what I was trying to do. So I thought about this. Nowadays it's like, highlighting being rude, being a jerk. Just when you think your opinion is more valid than science. Being unapologetic, being chauvinistic, misogynistic, and being proud of it. So I tried to think back, and I thought about back when I was using, at the very end of when I was using H. We'll call it H. I got to be careful again the words I say here. The substance that comes from the Far East, from Afghanistan, from poppy plants. I was using that, and I remember back then, and I was missing almost every tooth in my mouth. I was overweight too, because I wouldn't eat for days, and then I would binge eat, and I weighed almost 280 pounds, missing all my teeth. Hadn't got a real haircut in 5 years. Cut it myself. Had burn holes all over my shirt, every piece of clothing I had. I did not look like the person you see sitting in front of you right now. I thought back to then, and I remember kind of bragging about using that substance. Yeah, I'm a junkie, and I remember that feeling of somehow being proud of that bad habit, and I thought about how I felt then, or even just being an addict in general. Right at the very end, there was part of me that kind of got off on scaring people, on being the bad man, being a rebel. Of course, these were lies. 14 years later, when I look back, these were lies. I was a pathetic basket case at that point. But what was I trying to achieve? Why did I take that stance? And I think it had to do with insecurities. At that point, I had kind of given up that I could get back to where I needed to be, get back to a healthy place, to follow the rules, to live right. And I kind of gave up on that. So the only thing I could do is kind of get a joy, a brag out of being the bad guy. I think that's it. Now, I'm not saying any of this to put anybody down. I'm just trying to figure out how we got to this place in America now, where there's a good portion of America that associates Trump and bad behavior and basically the 7 deadly sins: sloth, greed, lust, gluttony. Basically makes a goal or brags about those. Look at Trump. Like I've said before, he is the poster boy for the 7 deadly sins. How did we get here? You look at Trump supporters, some of these pictures of Trump supporters with the fingers up and, again, F your feelings and all that, and how did we get to this point? And how can we possibly, this is their image about an American. We used to talk about in the 70s, he talked about the ugly American, the guy with the cowboy hat going overseas and acting kind of rude. That's somebody that's well behaved nowadays. Well, of course, nowadays, Americans aren't even allowed overseas. We can barely leave the country in all reality right now because of our behavior. And again, take masks, for instance. Look at the Karens, they call them, in these stores, having freakouts where they're asked to wear a mask and they just scream and start throwing everything out of their carriage. Somebody's mother has their kids with them and they have a fit. And this is not good behavior. This is not something to be proud of. How did we get here? Who are these people and why do they find pride in acting like as bad as possible? And again, I try as best I could figure from when a low point in my life was I had given up and I took kind of a pride in being the worst I could be. It was pretty much the only thing I could be proud of, is being the best at being the worst. I look at the guys and, grabbing women or using that kind of language. This is something men do that they do it to feel more manly. The only reason that somebody would need to feel a little more manly is if they had an insecurity about themselves. I truly believe in the walk softly and carry a big stick, where I believe that confidence is quiet. When you try to make something obvious, it's obvious that you're insecure about that. Take, for instance, like the denial in science. I don't see how, I don't see how people can possibly say this is a good thing. It's almost like going back to the dark ages, but I started thinking about how fast technology is moving nowadays, and it's scary. It's scary to me. You look at kids 5 years old that know how to code. I just found out what the word code means. It's scary, and I think a lot of it has to do with that too. And everything that's going on in the world with climate change and everything, it's a fear of what's going on, and you just want to block it. I think part of me thinks they just want to block it out and say, and basically make up their own reality. It isn't happening. It isn't happening. If I don't believe if I believe it, it's not happening. Kind of mentality. I think it's kind of giving up. A mixture of that and insecurity. I just saw today, I want to do another video on Trump's EPA just allowed another use of a pesticide that's known to cause cancer and birth defects. And then I started looking this up, and I was horrified to see the past history of, in the last 2 or 3 years, what they've allowed. Other countries, hundreds of other countries have banned these pesticides and chemicals, and the Trump administration is bringing them back. The excuse they're using is that they could use them in smaller amounts, and then they're perfectly safe. And again, how and why do Trump supporters go along with this? How are they tricked into going along with something that could cause cancer and birth defects? Or it's like a macho image with the masks, putting themselves in harm's way. Like riding a motorcycle without a helmet. You know, they think that the helmet would make it'll make them look less macho. You know, taking the chance of splattering their brains all over the roadway. Again, I think it comes from an insecurity in their knowledge, in their fear of how fast things are moving along, technology, that they just can't catch up. They don't understand what's going on, and you know what? They're not going to participate. They're not. I don't understand it, and if I ignore it, it'll go away. I honestly believe that's what it is. And greed. And greed with I kind of got off track there with the EPA thing, but and greed, being talked into this stuff, being good for business, except that billionaires' idea of business and us regular people idea of business are two very different things. We think of a mom and pop store, and when they think of business, they're talking about a multi-conglomerate corporation. But anyway, back to this F your feelings stuff. How did we get here? How is it that there's this group of people that are proud of their shortcomings, of their rudeness, of their ignorance? How did we get here as Americans? And as best as I could figure so far, I think it's insecurity, and I think it's fear of how fast the world's moving, and an inability to understand it, and a denial that it's all happening, and a false masculine facade. That's as best I could figure for now. Let me know what you guys think. I'll be back later with another video. You guys have a good Monday.